Hey everyone, welcome to another video. Today we're going to talk about issue number 2 of The Vengeance of the Moon Knight, written by Jed MacKay. But before we dive into the story, I want to ask you a favor. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and a comment to help the channel grow. So with that said, this issue opens in the heart of New York City with chaos reigning as the once bustling streets were now engulfed in darkness, torn asunder by the sudden onslaught of vampires. Now they swarmed the city in droves, and their numbers was overwhelming, leaving destruction in their wake. And amidst the fiery ruins, a man with a gun stood scared behind a door. The sky went dark, and then the vampires came out, explained a voice from beyond the door to the terrified man. An army of the undead is currently spreading their terror not just here, but across the world. That's the bad news, but all hope is not lost. So as the man steadied his trembling hands around his weapon, he took in a deep breath and asked, "Then what is the good news?" Without missing a beat, Reese responded by saying the Midnight Mission still stands and they have vampires of their own and a sanctuary amidst the chaos. Now leading the charge was of course Reese, Soldier, and 8-Ball dressed in pristine white with their swords dripping with the blood of their enemies. So with them revealed, Reese wasted no time and introduces herself and her companions, promising safety to those who seek it. So with that said, Reese urges the man to come with her so she can get him to safety. But unfortunately, the man immediately panics, still reeling from the shock, mistakes them for foes, and reacts violently. Reese reveals her vampire nature and tries to calm the man. "Yeah, okay, I am a vampire, but I'm on your side." So with that statement, tensions instantly flared as a gunshot rang out and missed Reese's face by mere inches. So with that bullet nearly hitting its target, Soldier steps up with no hesitation and threatens to knock down the door and drag the man out to safety himself. But see, he didn't understand the delicate balance of trust they must maintain, because Reese was fully aware that they could just force him out. Because she went on to say, "We can't make him come with us, because the minute we're seen dragging someone kicking and screaming from their home is the minute people stop trusting us. Because in actuality, it doesn't matter how many silver blades or stakes they have if no one trusts them. Because trust is their most important weapon, and without that, a whole lot of people will die, because they won't trust them to help them." So following that, Reese's mind started to drift back to her past as she continued to save civilians. She recounts how she was once captured by a vampiric cult called the Structure, who sought to turn her into one of them, but Moon Knight saved her before she was fully lost. He gave her an opportunity, and now, she fights alongside the Midnight Mission, protecting others from the fate she narrowly escaped. Now in the midst of battle, Soldier and Reese prove their mettle as they fend off waves upon waves of attacking vampires, with precise and lethal movements. And despite the loss of Mark Spector, they remain steadfast in their mission, for he left them his blades and his need to use them to protect all who travel at night. And with a sky like this, they all are traveling at night. So as the battle continues to escalate, Soldier was caught off guard and was faced by a fellow vampire who snarls a question about his loyalty, for he asked, "Why are you protecting the prey?" But see, Soldier was undeterred and declared they are nothing like them. So just like that, Soldier took out his enemy. Now on a side note, one thing about Soldier we need to know is that Soldier wasn't turned like Reese, but rather he was infected when a bullet Reese tried to stop with her own body punched right through her and went into his. Now this never really bothered him as much as it bothered her. But regardless of his condition, he would always fight for the living, and his new state just makes him better at his job. So as a vampire snuck up behind him, screaming about how much of a traitor he is, it was moments away from landing a fatal attack until 8-Ball unloaded on it. So as the bullet ripped through their enemy, 8-Ball, the former supercriminal turned Midnight Mission convert, stood there proud of his work. For together, they led a group of survivors to the Midnight Mission, a beacon of hope amidst the darkness. Now once inside, the citizens were welcomed by Dr. Sturman, who assured them that they were all safe now, and the Midnight Mission's got room for all the travelers at night. So with the people safe and the team finally able to regroup, the first thing on their minds was to feed on some blood packs and prepare for the next mission. Because since they became vampires, they no longer get tired, but instead they just get hungry. So as long as they have blood, their body can go as long as it has to. So with a final sip from her blood bag, she turns to her comrades and said, "Let's go." So as they venture back into the perilous streets, the team navigates through the wreckage, searching for any signs of life. Now the city is a wasteland of corpses and debris. So with that said, Reese's voice echoes in her mind and said, "My body is one thing, my mind is another, and her spirit." But before she could continue, Reese switches her trail of thought and asks Soldier if he found anything as they examine the bodies. To which Soldier replied by saying nope. So with Reese's keen senses on full alert for any movement, they continue their patrol forward. But no matter how calm Reese looked, Soldier had a feeling that something was bothering his comrade, so like a good friend he asked if she was good. Now at first, she said yes as she tried to reassure him. But unfortunately, the carnage weighs heavily on her, because she had never seen so many dead people before. Now fighting on the street is one thing, but this is a massacre. And just as she said that, Reese froze in her tracks and instantly her eyes widened. Because they stumbled upon a gruesome scene, the scale of death was almost overwhelming. "Oh God," breathed Reese. The street was littered with bodies and created a chilling scene that embodied the vampire apocalypse. So regardless of the mayhem before her, Reese steadies herself and recalls her vampire nature, and thought to herself that she only breathed so she could talk. And because of that, she has forgotten what it's like to have a heartbeat. Now despite her composed exterior, the stress mounted as Soldier called out to see if Reese was still okay, as concern was etched upon his face. Because at this moment, Reese was having an episode, because all one needs to have a panic attack is a brain and a surplus of stress, which was exactly what Reese had. So as Reese fought the rising anxiety, Soldier placed a comforting hand on her shoulder and whispered in a calming voice that he was going to put his arm around her to help ground her. But just as he did that, a new figure emerged by the name Yulan, a vampire with a hardened heart. And the first thing she said was for Soldier to leave her. For this isn't a time for coddling anymore. So with that said, Yulan stated that they tried to live in the world we knew, the human world. But someone killed that world, and she don't think this new world has any space for weakness, for this is a world for monsters. And if you or I are going to survive, we're going to have to get used to being monsters too. So with that cold response, Soldier did not back down at all and instead confronted Yulan head-on and asked if she tracked them down just to tell them that. To which Yulan replied by saying no, because the reason why she tracked them down was to inform them that she had locked down Chinatown. And because she is in charge, she wanted to invite them because the two of them are of her bloodline, and they are the only two outside of Chinatown. So if they want, there is a place for them there. So with the offer extended, Soldier asked about his people, and how many of her brides can she lend them to move their people from the mission to Chinatown. But see, Soldier misunderstood Yulan, because with a cold smile on her lips she answered with, she came for him and Reese, and not their people. Because she has people enough of her own to look after. So with that revelation, Reese declared firmly that they have no deal. So with that said, Reese steps forward in full defiance. And continued to say, that Moon Knight never left anyone behind, so neither will they. Because Mark died a hero protecting their city. And that includes Yulan Precious Chinatown, so in a way he died so Yulan could continue to be a monster. Now following that, Yulan started to taunt Reese and begun to point out her vulnerabilities. She even compared her to a baby vampire that is still so young and weak. So weak that she still has panic attacks like a regular human. So as Yulan's blade touched Reese's neck, Reese stood undeterred and held her ground and asked Yulan if she looked like she was panicking now. To which Yulan was forced to admit that she wasn't. In fact, she went as far as to say Mark made her just as crazy as he was. So as the tension started to subside, Yulan put away her blade and heard Reese out. For Reese told her that the sun would rise again. To which Yulan replied by saying, she say that because she is still young and she still remembers the sun. Because Yulan unfortunately hasn't seen it in 700 years. So as Yulan exits the scene, Soldier, Reese, and 8-Ball all regroup. And the first thing Soldier said to 8-Ball was thanks for all the help, to which 8-Ball replied by saying he didn't even see her pull her sword, so what was he supposed to do? So with that interaction done, Reese let out a deep breath and said she made a mistake, and told her friends to find as many people as they could and take them back to the midnight mission, because she still had something to deal with. Now this surprised Soldier because he didn't want her to go off on her own. But there was no stopping her, because that was exactly what Mark would have done. Because Moon Knight would never leave anyone behind, and neither would she. Now with that said, on the next page, we see Reese sitting outside the door from the beginning of the book where she encountered the scared man. And while she sat out there, she said that she is not going to make him come out. But she is not going to leave him behind. So she is going to wait there, and if any vampires come looking for him, then she will kill them. Because that's what Mark Spector would do. So as she sat out there alone, the survivor finally emerged from his home and chose to trust Reese. So as Reese smiled, she started to lead him to safety. So as they step outside, the first thing they notice is that the moon has once again returned to the sky, for the dark force energy has weakened. So with that said, this issue came to an end. Now with that out there, if you want to stay in the loop about any individual storyline, then how about you hop over to the playlist section down below or in the link cards above to get all caught up on the Blood Hunt event. So with that established, I hope you enjoyed this video, and please don't forget to leave a like and a comment if you want to see more videos like this. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next review.